Hey everybody, it's your old pal Robert from ThrillRide.com. How you doing? So here on a beautiful morning in Simi Valley, I'm visiting the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library. Now, if you recall from my Exploring Simi Valley video from several months back, this is one of the locations I really wanted to check out when I moved here. And of course, it was closed at the time due to the pandemic, but it has reopened. And there's a couple of really cool exhibits in here, something on the FBI and I think something on Al-Qaeda. But I'm really here to check out Air Force One. They have an actual plane that was in the service of the presidency and is now retired here. And always fascinated by aircraft, so wanted to come check this out. So let's go take a look around. Yeah, as presidential libraries go, I can't imagine that there are too many that are in as beautiful a location as the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library is. Look at this insane view. And it is 360 degrees, perched right on top of this hill here in Simi. And hopefully we'll get a look in the other directions once we get inside. Well, that is a very pleasant message welcoming us back. And it looks like they may also have an exhibit on Nancy Reagan, the First Lady. Oh yeah. So her centennial was in 2021. Yeah, July 6, 2021. Very nice. This is neat. Right out front, there looks to be a rather innocuous Dodge quarter-ton van. Even kind of styled in the era of the 80s. Look at those back windows. But this was, of course, an FBI surveillance van that would park nearby the locations of nefarious evildoers and surveil them. Yeah, there you go. Vehicle retains its original interior command console, surveillance camera support cabling, manual photo periscope, rear air conditioning, blackout drapes, and additional electronic monitoring equipment. I'm not surprised to see these are very lovely grounds. And there's a little bit of California architectural heritage here with the Spanish tile roof. And I do love this fountain out front. Yeah, the sound of water falling, so beautiful. And there's the statue of the man himself, Ronald Reagan, created in 1998, and it's called After the Ride, and is donated also in part by the National Cowboy Hall of Fame. So yes, in honor of Nancy Reagan's 100th birthday, they commissioned a statue, and sitting here is a third scale maquette of what the finished statue will look like. America's best days are yet to come. Our proudest moments are yet to be. Our most glorious achievements are just ahead. This is unexpected. Apparently, before you enter the library, there is some sort of a hologram exhibit. Cool.
In 1974, Ronald and Nancy Reagan named it Rancho del Cielo, Heaven's Ranch. A perfect description that still holds true today. In fact, they're here today.
Nancy and I went 7 miles up a switchback road. I must admit, Nancy's quite an accomplished horsewoman.
She sure is. Mr. President, could you tell us about the ranch?
Well, I'm proud of Rancho del Cielo, a 350-acre ranch overlooking the Pacific Ocean.
All right, so here is the museum proper. Just left behind that really fun little hologram introduction. Yeah, there's a lot to see here. Yeah, we forget, not only was he president, he was the governor of California from 1967 to 1975. Yeah, like any good museum, there's a lot to see here in one visit, so we're going to keep plenty for the next time to come back. Here's a section of the library that focuses on the president's first 70 days. A little presidential podium right there. This is pretty cool. They've got a recreation of the Oval Office.
The roof had to be brought down because if it went through the roof, they would have had to get extra permits. So President Reagan and the engineering crew said, well, let's dig down and go lower so we can give people the full feeling of the majesty of this room.
All right, so it's a nice kind of linear path through the first set of exhibits, and here we go. Big long hallway down to Air Force One, and you can see the nose of the plane. Ooh, very exciting. Walking through this colonnade on the way to the pavilion to see a big, larger-than-life statue of Reagan astride a horse. Right outside there, neat. Wow, there it is. Stunning. Oh yeah, they got some other vehicles down here too. And part of the presidential motorcade that would have taken him from the White House to the plane. Yeah. Wow. And again, what a view. What a location to house an airplane like this. I love this. There are these kind of see-through plexiglass, or I don't know what these are, some sort of dividers, but that show how many flight miles that Air Force One logged during the years of his presidency. Very cool. This is neat. So of the 26 countries that Reagan visited aboard Air Force One, they're all represented by these flags up here. Nice. That's very cool. Here's a shot of Reagan greeting some native Indonesian dancers when they visited that nation in 1986. And there he is with Gorbachev, day before ratifying the Intermediate Nuclear Forces INF Treaty, which for the first time in history eliminated an entire class of US and Soviet nuclear missiles. From May 31st, 1988. Yeah, that was a big step. Yeah, it's no surprise to hear President Reagan was a big believer in face-to-face diplomacy. I think personal relationships were a very big part of his governing strategy. And he enlisted Air Force One as a crucial aid in achieving his goals. During his 8 years in office, he traveled 661,708 miles, carrying his message to the 26 foreign nations highlighted here and more than 150 U.S. cities. And here's a pretty cool information graphic, big timeline of the history of the United States Secret Service, starting back in 1865. And I'm sure it has changed quite a bit in the century and a half or more since then. Love that very sleek, sexy wingtip. Yeah, very windswept looking, nice. There's a little diagram showing the interior layout of the plane itself. Yeah, they got a stateroom, a couple of staterooms, a lounge, staff rooms, staff and guest compartments, and then air passenger compartment and entry area. Yeah, cool. All right, and there's some of the important stats. Wingspan, 145 feet, 9 inches. Length, 152 feet, 11 inches. Wing area, 3,050 square feet. Max takeoff weight, 329,100 pounds. Yeah. And could achieve a cruising speed of 540 nautical miles per hour. Nice. And I love how this looks like it just rolled out of Boeing's factory. As clean and as shiny as an airplane can get. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, here we go. Stepping inside. Oh, there we go. You don't see a copy machine. First steps inside a plane. Oh, awesome. Yeah, get a look inside the cockpit. Look at all the switches, knobs. Yeah, cool. Wow, look at this command center of some kind. Yeah, I guess this is where they track times and distances to where they were flying. Wow, super cool.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. And there he is, yeah. Greeting some of the crew. It even smells like an airplane in here. All right, so this is stateroom 1. Yeah, looks like there's some presidential documents still on the table. His jacket, there's a little sleeping compartment back there. Oh wow, yeah. And a couple of jump seats. Oh. Boy, these windows seem so low. Oh, here we get another better look. Yeah, inside his kind of personal space. Oh. Oh wow, okay, so this must be stateroom 2. Oh wow, check this out, some sort of a binder for his trip to the People's Republic of China in 1984. You can see over there a little jar of Jelly Bellies, the president's favorite sugary snack. And I see some fruit over there, another jar of Jelly Bellies. Very nice. And here's kind of another passenger area and workspaces for the people on board. Very cool.
This was for White House staff, the president's personal aides. 2 of the people who always flew here were his doctor and the military aide, represented by Lieutenant Colonel Chelander's uniform. He was military aide to the president for quite some years. This was also called the typewriter cabin because there were 2 typing stations, one on each side of the cabin.
Oh, great.
And secretaries would type up the final version of what the president was going to use.
Oh, for speeches and things. Yeah,
yes.
Great. And I think I heard you mention that is a good old IBM Selector.
IBM Selector. That particular one belonged to Mr. Kachigian, who was one of President Reagan's speechwriters.
Awesome.
And so it was thought appropriate to put it on display here.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I had one of those back in the day. Weighs a ton. Right, so I was just informed this is kind of the VIP seating area. And then, yeah, more seating for the president's staff. Yeah. Oh, there's a photo of him looking pretty dashing in a tux. Yeah, these look like pretty comfortable seats. I wouldn't mind traveling around the world on this plane. There's a big old school camera here too, and I love the phones at every kind of seating area. Yeah. And looks like a little galley of sorts, perhaps. Yeah, where the meals were prepared. And of course, a nice big chocolate cake. Don't that look good? Yeah. And of course, back here, a couple of lavatories. Looks like this one's occupied, so we'll move on. All right, just exiting the rear compartment of the plane. Yeah, oh, so great. You gotta wonder what is currently in the operating version of Air Force One. I bet the technologies in that version of the plane are far superior to what was installed here. And here's a sample of the one of the Pratt & Whitney turbofan engines that power the plane, and that is the cleanest, shiniest, most beautifully preserved jet engine I've ever seen. Yeah, that almost looks like a piece of a steampunk sculpture. Whoa. Yeah, you could shave yourself in the mirror finish of a lot of unpainted sheets of metal on this plane. Really beautiful. And look at the size of those tires. Yeah, I said this was a Boeing plane earlier, and I wasn't 100% sure, but sure enough, there we go. So this is a vehicle that used to operate in the president's motorcade. And according to this information graphic out front, the motorcade began life in 1907 when Secret Service agents followed President Theodore Roosevelt's horse-drawn carriage. Amazing. And although it says President William Taft became the first chief executive to travel by car just a few years later, it was not until 1945 that the Secret Service actually began to drive the president in the motorcades. I had a good friend who ended up working in the Clinton White House, I think during his first 4 years, and he told me all about these black Silverados and other related SUVs, which they called the war wagons internally. and you did not want one of these things coming after you, because they were loaded for bear inside those vehicles. Yeah, classic Caddy, famous American luxury mark, very appropriate for the American president. Of course, some of you probably remember that Reagan's nickname was the Gipper, which came out of some movie he was in prior to his political career starting. And it was some sort of football thing, and famous line was "Win one for the Gipper." Never seen it, and that's my only recollection of where the name came from. But there you go, immortalized on the back of his presidential limousine. And right here you got a sampling of the police vehicles that would accompany the motorcades, including this Kawasaki Police 1000, which is, I think, kind of the standard motorcycle we think of when we think of CHIPS, the California Highway Patrol. Didn't those guys ride a Kawasaki? I think so. So you can see up there on the tail, this plane has the designation of 27000. It's a Boeing 707 that was accepted into the Air Force on August 4th, 1972. So Richard Nixon was the first president to use the 27000, and he flew this plane in February 1973 from Andrews Air Force Base to Chicago. And although it is immortalized here in the Reagan Library, this Air Force One flew 7 U.S. presidents: Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, H.W. Bush, Clinton, and W. Bush. And the replacement for the 27,000, the 28,000, was a Boeing 747 that the Reagan administration ordered, but was not delivered until the Bush administration. And of course, they got the bonus aircraft here, which is Marine One, the official presidential helicopter. Let's take a look in here. Very cool. All right, so we got to lower our head a little bit going in. Oh, neat. Oh yeah. Another cool look inside the cockpit. Yeah, it's got that smell. It's like the electronics or something has a lingering odor. It feels very aircraft-like. Yeah, a little cozier than the Air Force One, but definitely some room in here to spread out a little bit. Yeah. There's, of course, imagine the important conversations that were had on this little phone. Neat. Yeah, just take a look back through the cabin. See the presidential seal up there on the left. Awesome. Well, there you go. In 1957, the Marine Helicopter Squadron 1 transported President Eisenhower from Newport, Rhode Island to Naval Air Station Quonset Point, beginning presidential helicopter travel. Huh. And here's the T-58 turboshaft engine, which gave the Marine One the power it needed. Entered service in 1961 with the U.S. Navy's first gas turbine helicopter, the Sikorsky SH-3 Sea King. Here we go. The Sea King was the first helicopter to fly faster than 200 miles an hour, first to fly nonstop across the United States, and with the U.S. Air Force variant, was the first helicopter to cross the Atlantic Ocean nonstop. And this is another pretty cool little bonus exhibit here in the Air Force One Pavilion. I knew Reagan had some Irish heritage. I share that with him. But it goes a little deeper than I realized. So in June of 1884, the Reagans visited his ancestral homeland and went to this amazing pub to discover that the pub had been named in his honor. The president would often say, John Kennedy got an airport, Lyndon Johnson got a space center, but I got a pub named after me. And so unfortunately the pub had to close, but Reagan wanted to save it, so they bought it, shipped it, and it reinstalled it here, so you can have a little taste of the home country right here in Simi Valley, California. That is pretty sweet. I'll tell you, the building erected to house these artifacts is almost as impressive as the goods inside. And again, what a view. Wow, so cool. And also neat out here on this kind of huge patio are bronze plaques that honor the various ambassadors to the various countries around the world that served in the Reagan administration. Like Glenn A. Holden, ambassador to Jamaica, and Lawrence Lane, ambassador to Australia and Nauru. Let's see. Philip D. Wynne, ambassador to Switzerland. Nice. So as I understand it, the museum closes daily at 5. But I wonder if they ever do kind of night events here. I would imagine this has got to be a popular spot for private receptions and you know, special VIP events. But yeah, to see this place lit up at night, woo, gotta be awfully pretty. So of course, Air Force One is also known as the Flying White House. And apparently it was during the dark days of World War II when President Franklin Roosevelt ushered in the area of presidential flight, undertaking a secret mission to Morocco to meet with fellow Allied leaders Winston Churchill, Charles de Gaulle, and Henri Giaud of France at the Casablanca Conference. Wow, and he flew on the Dixie Clipper. I guess these are all the various planes that have served as Air Force One. And of course, it was not until Eisenhower's administration that they began referring to the presidential plane as Air Force One, and whatever plane he is currently flying on, he or she, someday soon I hope, is always referred to as Air Force One. So the SAM 26000, which stands for Special Air Mission, was the first jet aircraft specifically acquired for the presidential fleet. Cool. President John Kennedy wanted to make the plane more than a mode of transportation, so he asked his wife Jacqueline Kennedy to commission designer Raymond Loewy to devise a signature paint scheme for the aircraft. So again, the plane was decommissioned in 2001. In the process of transporting it here, building the pavilion, getting everything installed, and doing all the final painting and polishing, took about another 4 years. And again, was open to the public in 2005. So the plane was flown to an airport in San Bernardino, and then it was disassembled, trucked here, and then reassembled by Boeing technicians. That's pretty amazing. Here's another exhibit space talking about some of the big world events that happened during the Reagan years, including the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. And here, one of the most important parts of the presidency was the taking down of the Berlin Wall. Look at this, and I believe this is an actual section. Oh wow, that is incredible. Really crazy, separating East and West Berlin. Oh man. Yeah, you got this guard tower with a working searchlight. Yeah, that feels pretty authentic. Yeah, look at this graffiti and everything. Wow. Yeah, the relationship between Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev was felt pretty unique in the history of U.S.-Soviet Union relationships.
We're going to achieve something remarkable.
So here's a recovered beam from the World Trade Center towers that were destroyed on September 11, 2001, and it has been inscribed with FDNY 343 to honor the firefighters, the 343 firefighters that lost their lives that day. I love architectural models, and here's a model of the entire library complex, including that beautiful building that houses Air Force One.
You know, as he always said, when America's best days are ahead of us. But with Ronald Reagan's passing.
So I was mistaken. The FBI exhibit is available for general admission. So yeah, let's take a look inside.
So far from the dark ages, you know.
You never knew from day to day what you were going to be doing.
Wow, here's one of the engines from United Airlines Flight 175 that was flown into the South Tower on 9/11. It says here this is a Hoover era FBI work desk. I'm looking for any signs of women's clothing, but not seeing any. Yeah, you can't think of the FBI without thinking of the FBI's most wanted lists. And here's another famous relic from the history of the FBI files. Bonnie and Clyde's 1934 Ford sedan that they were killed in. And this is the actual car. Apparently it's got 157 or 67 bullet holes in it. Amazing. Now this is owned by the Whiskey Pete's Hotel, I think, but it is on loan here. So yeah, this is not a replica. Crazy. Wow. Yeah, they wanted those two deader than dead. Wow, so this is a little exhibit about the infamous case of D.B. Cooper, who basically jumped out of a plane with a suitcase full of $20 bills and a parachute and vanished forever. And according to the information on the wall behind here, Cooper, whose name was actually Dan Cooper, they surmise he probably did not survive the jump. Some kid found an old briefcase with rotting 20s that had the serial numbers that match. So yeah, poor Mr. Cooper tried and failed. I love this beautiful old car. And up there, neon sign is from the Biograph Theater, where John Dillinger was eventually hunted down and killed after quite an intensive FBI manhunt. These appear to be recreations of prison cells at Alcatraz, which was brought into service in 1934 to house what the FBI considered the worst of the worst. And yeah, those are pretty snug chambers. I would not want to spend much time in here at all. There's a little corner exhibit celebrating J. Edgar Hoover, legendary director of the FBI. Yeah, whatever you think of the man, he is irrevocably linked to this organization. And what do we got here? Oh, a DOJ vehicle. Nice. Chrysler. Another proud American brand. So apparently, this is what the FBI considers a perfect score in their target practice. Yeah, look at that cluster of bullets. Those are all in the kill zone. Amazing. This is neat, kind of recreation of a fingerprint analysis lab. Pretty complicated. You know, what's interesting is we're getting into more and more kinds of biometric measurements. I'm wondering how important fingerprint recognition will remain. I'm sure it's always going to be part of the crime-solving tools, but we get so many more now. Oh yeah, I remember living in Southern California when the Patty Hearst story was unfolding. What a saga. Yeah, if you're not familiar, look it up and research it. It was pretty incredible. Wow, these are all remnants from the bombing of the Alfred Murrah Federal Building in 1995. And that guy, I can't remember the name of the perpetrator, but drove a truck filled with fertilizer, chemicals, etc. Basically a giant homemade bomb, and destroyed the building. And this big piece of metal here is the front axle from the Ryder truck that he rented. Here's a reconstruction of Ted Kaczynski's cabin, the Unabomber. A fellow who lived up in the woods on his own, handcrafted a whole bunch of explosive devices and sent them to people around the country for quite some time. It's pretty amazing. This is a bomb retrieval robot, and looks like we have another remotely operated vehicle for moving into dangerous situations. Yeah, look at those tank treads. That's hardcore. And this is great. A little exhibit of the FBI and popular culture, and of course Silence of the Lambs, one of my favorite movies of all time. And yet there's quite a few films that feature FBI characters. Okay, this is probably my favorite movie of all of them represented here, actually. Catch Me If You Can. An absolute Spielberg masterpiece. I've seen it many, many, many times. So great. Oh man, look at this selection of vintage toys. G-Man detective set. That's fantastic. All right, we're back outside here. Check out a couple more planes and things on display, and look at this view. Oh. Yeah, again, you can't beat the location. Pretty sweet. All right, there it is. This is the F-117A Nighthawk, the world's first operational stealth aircraft. So cool. Developed at the height of the Cold War by Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. I mean, look at that thing. It's like a bumblebee. It just shouldn't be able to fly. How does this thing manage to do it? God, just incredible. And somehow also just evade any kind of radar detection. So cool. Yeah. Oh, look at those. Are those hawks up there? Yeah. Oh, I just hear them calling out. Seems somehow very fitting to hear those birds of prey standing next to this very cool offensive aircraft. Well, maybe not quite as high-tech, but no less impressive. You've got here the Black A Squadron F-14A fighter jet. Very cool. And you can see down there in that other parking lot, they've got a tank. And I'm going to guess from its color that it was used in one of the Middle East conflicts. It has a very Desert Storm kind of a look to it. All right, I think that is going to bring this one to a close. So as always, thank you so much for coming along. And I really hope you enjoyed this kind of look around what it has to be one of the most beautiful presidential libraries in the country. Again, I haven't seen but a few, so I could be wrong on that, but this is pretty amazing. And Air Force One lived up to all my very high expectations. Super cool. Yeah, it's kind of like the Getty Museum here, you know, the big art museum close to Santa Monica, where you go as much for the location as you go for the content inside. I mean, just like that amazing facility, this sits on top of a hill with a, you know, incredible view in every direction. So yeah, definitely worth your while up here. $30 to get in, just FYI. And I think it's well worth it. So yeah, once again, thank you, and we will catch you in the next one.